I cover Gateway Arch in the book,
Yeah,
in Mysteries. Yeah. And I mean, it has a really twisted and weird story too. I understand why people are not enthused with it getting renamed a national park. Um, it could have very well been a monument. It's funny that you mentioned Congaree because that's because I live on the southeast coast in South Carolina, and Congaree is only 3 hours from here. And we went. Now, the day we went, we camped. The day before, we met some people who were kayakers, and the guy came from Washington State, and he hated Congaree. And I actually wrote an article where I opened. I don't like call him out by name or anything. He's just talking so much shit about Congaree. I'm just like, whoa, dude, weird. And then we go, and I'm like, okay, this is actually a great park. This is like a redwoods of the southeast swamp. These trees are
yeah,
massive. It's a
yeah.
great unit, but it's small and it's different. And I mean, here's why I
It's
come
very
back to
rustic. It's very
yeah,
rustic. Like
yeah,
people
it's
should know what to expect. And there are a lot of mosquitoes. That was my
yeah,
only complaint. I was like
yeah.
bitten
The
alive. But
mosquito meter that they have at the
oh,
visitor center, right?
and that day it said like the medium, it wasn't high, it
And
was
it's
like, oh
still
yeah, it's
terrible.
mid-range.
I
Oh my
know.
God, I was wearing a face net and I was covered up top to bottom and I still had so many mosquito bites. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's why I come back to the whole, the designation of like, okay, designations of national parks have a political element where it gets voted, and it has a lot to do sometimes with the power of the individual pushing for that park to get designated, which is another reason why to give all units in the park service, in the park system, a chance. There are some really good national historical parks that are comparable to their national park-like in their offerings. There are also some great national seashores. One of the goals I did with the book was to try to cover some of those. So one example is Cumberland Island National Seashore. That is a fantastic NPS unit, but it only gets 300,000 people a year. And the limiting factor is actually the number of seats on the ferry. However, I've talked to them and they say we rarely actually fill the ferry up any day. So they're not even at capacity. A national monument, Dinosaur National Monument in Utah, that is very national park-like. Cumberland Gap National Historical Park at the
I've
three-way
never been
junction of
there.
Kentucky, Virginia, and I think Tennessee. Um, it's also very national park-like.
Interesting. I've
Yeah,
never been to that one.
yeah, that one's good. I mean,
Okay.
it's. Some people don't like. There's a right through the park. So Cumberland Gap eventually becomes a highway, and then eventually, I think it might be an interstate. I'm not sure, but it has a big tunnel going through it now. So you're kind of near this highway, but you can hike from there into other parts of the park, and it's a pretty good one. So there are these other units that are really really good.
You gave some good options for our listeners. I'm going to give two more because obviously I have to plug in my favorites.
Yeah,
I think a good next national park could be Lava Beds up in.
yeah, yeah.
So we were doing this trip. We were going from Larson National Park. My friend Sid and I, we were going from Larson National Park up to Crater Lake, and we did that on our way. Just beautiful, beautiful park, right? I hope it get come into a national park.
Yeah.
It's a site already, and because we discussed seashore, I am biased. I love Cape Cod.
Okay.
Like you still can collect a stamp there because
Yeah.
it's natural seashore.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. Like, just go down there, spend a day. You'll enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
Food, great people. So that's another good one that I
Yeah. I
like.
still have not been to that one, but I want to. Yeah.
This one time, Mike, we went there. I think I went there with Jan that year, and we both got our PhDs in a lab that studied jellyfish.
Okay.
And I was in Boston back there, and he was visiting for a conference, and we were like, oh yeah, let's just drive to Cape Cod. Drove down, and the beach, I don't know what was going on, but the beach was full of jellyfish, transparent jellyfish. And I have pictures where it's like you couldn't even walk because there were just thousands littered on the shore.
Yeah.
And I need to look up the article or if there was news coverage. Like, I don't know what happened. It was just a ton of jellyfish. And we laughed about it and sent a picture to our advisor. But I'll never forget that. Like, there was something going on that day where just a ton of fish were on shore.
Yeah. I mean, and that type of stuff happens all the time in the national parks. I mean, there was one time I was in Big South Fork National River Recreation Area. That's another one that could be a national park. and I had something like 10 bear encounters in one day. They were
Wow.
just everywhere. Yeah.
10? That's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, some of them might have been with the same bear. Like in the morning, I encountered a bear. We were biking, and in the morning, I encountered a bear with cubs, and we backed up. And then later that day, I encountered others, and it just kept happening all day long. I was encountering all the bears. Sometimes other people were with me. Other time, I went out alone biking a little bit later that day. Bear, 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 bear. It was crazy. Last year, I had a ton of fox encounters.
Oh,
Um, yeah, like I just kept seeing foxes last year. It was so
nice.
cool. Yeah,
Well, this year, I think it's been a rough bear season, and we are recording on Memorial Day weekend, right? And four parks have closed down or closed down certain parts of the park already
because
because
of the tax. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it's Shenandoah, Yellowstone. Yesterday, I was reading about Rainier. I'm sorry, Cascades, one of those, and I'm forgetting the fourth one. And it's insane. And I pray for bear encounters from a very, very safe distance because I love
yeah.
wildlife.
That's good.
So, my father and I are leaving for Alaska next week, and I'm hoping I can see at least one or two. It would be cool, but I have a story in Glacier National Park from a couple of years ago. That was a bear attack, and now I'm like always when I manifest a bear encounter, I say like from a very safe distance,
Yeah,
so
well,
I can just see it.
that's good. I mean, I think one issue might be happening is that now people, when they see a bear, instead of retreating to a safe distance immediately, the first thing they do is pull out their phone and start to approach. And I think and I do think that that behavior is causing the bears to behave more aggressively. Bears are smart. They're essentially territorial. Black bears are defensive, but when you start to kind of behave that way toward them, it changes their behavior. And I think that might be. I don't know. Every incident of an attack is different, and whether it's like someone startles them accidentally coming around a corner, or they're actually pulling out their phone and starting to observe. I mean, my wife and I have been in Great Smoky Mountains National Park when we saw people doing this to a cub, and they
Oh my
surrounded
god,
it, filming it, and I'm
no, the
looking
mom's
around, and
around.
I'm like, so you can see the path where the mom goes, and I'm
Yeah,
like saying to people, I'm like, this is a really bad idea to be surrounding this cub. And I'm like, well, and I said it kind of loudly, people are gonna, end up, if they're listening. Some listened, others didn't, and a number of us walked away and left the scene, but a lot of people stayed and kept gathering. So I don't know what happened that day, but I mean, I see this sometimes where the response people are offering is the wrong response, which is I don't. The first thing I do when I see a bear is I retreat. I do have a telephoto camera, so occasionally if I have to retreat, I might pull it out, and I have gotten a couple photos that way. But what I don't do is pull out the camera and approach and keep moving forward, and that's where I think some of the bears may be responding now um, aggressively. Because obviously grizzlies are aggressive, but black bears are typically not. But now we're seeing attacks by black bears. So
but I do want to point out to people it doesn't matter what is the color of the bear or the size of it. Like even a baby cub, right,
yeah,
can still cause enough harm to humans. And if a cub is there, I promise you the mother is very, very close.
yeah, that's right. We should approach them all with caution. There's a couple differences with like grizzlies versus and yeah. So what we call black bears, they can appear cinnamon in color. It's just the
Hmm.
species name is
Yep.
is popularized as black bear, and some of them in certain areas do have a very dark black coat, but they don't always. But they tend to be a smaller and more timid bear, and so typically they say if you encounter them and they charge at you, instead of running away because they'll strike, um,
Scare them.
you just
Yep.
stand there and at a safe distance. And grizzlies, that's a completely different thing, right? Grizzlies are very aggressive, and that's often necessitates bear spray, right? And they say do anything to fight back because the grizzly will be so aggressive it will attack. And it's really, I think, if people are going into the areas where grizzlies are at, they really need to spend some time educating themselves about how to travel in grizzly territory. I've done it, and often involves bells and being loud and announcing that you're coming, so you don't startle them. Because if you do startle them, their behavior is going to be incredibly aggressive, and there's not much you can do. These are massive, 1,000 pound, you know, bears, huge claws. I mean, so yeah, and then but I mean, yeah, I'm following the whole like increase in bear incidents, and Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And, I just want to tell people like I'm guilty of this. I have done hikes alone. I've been to national parks alone, and both the bear incidents that I can think of that I have seen in Glacier and Katmai have
yeah,
both been where I've been like that specific hike I was alone on.
yeah,
And
because you're
that
quieter.
it is not fun.
Yeah,
It is scary and you should be very careful. And maybe this is a stamp moment for today. Like there is something for everyone in every national park. That's why I love it. My mom has been to 36 or 37. There's something for every type of person, every age, every gender, everything. But you have to be careful and make memories. Please don't approach bears or
I
any
know,
wildlife.
I know. Yeah, yeah. There's right ways to do it, and then the risks really drop when you're prepared. National parks are incredibly safe. Um, and and yeah, I think that's why I think also going to the visitor centers, right? If you're going to a new park, go to the visitor center. They often have a lot of really helpful information, and they can often reassure you. Like, we don't want to scare people off from the parks because of bears, but I think we want to also maybe educate them and tell them there is a proper way to conduct yourself in bear country. And there's that social profile Turons of
Mhm.
Yellowstone. What they're doing is wrong, right? What they're doing is the wrong behavior. That's leading to the increase in bear incidents. Even if the person that eventually gets caught is not doing anything wrong themselves, right? If the bear is agitated from other visitors' behavior, it's then behaving differently toward visitors later. So now you have an individual hiking perhaps alone or a small group quietly, and just an aside, typically when we travel in bear country alone, we actually want to maybe have a bell or make a little more noise because that's when we might startle them. And so yeah, so that's something to think about as well. But yeah, I mean, really, we don't want to be, whatever we say, antagonizing the bear, pestering the bear, approaching the bear, taunting the bear. Any of that is just creating more anxiety and changing aggressive behavior in the bears towards humans. So then later someone else might get caught. So obviously we kind of went on a tangent there about bears, but it is happening. I mean, I'm seeing the news reports as well. Yeah.